Robertson. I have the honor to be here as the Brandon School Superintendent for this amazing event tonight. So with my welcome, I'd like to begin officially and say this is our 7th annual induction ceremony for the Ed and Diane Donaldson Distinguished Alumni Wall of Fame. So I have some special guests, and this is the part I want to make sure I get right, that are here tonight. First, the members of the Brandon School Board of Education. I'd like to begin with Hillary Stokowski, trustee. Board President Diane Salter. And Trustee John Chartier. We also have the Brandon Township Clerk Rosalind Blair. Rosalind, where are you? And Dennis Hoffman from the VFW. Also, we have Mr. Bob Mcarthur, BGYA President. We have Judy Miracle from the Ortonville Historical Society. Judy. Representing the Donaldson family, Steve Felker. Steve. There you are. And we have a lot of our school district administration here I'd like to also recognize. So make sure I don't miss anyone, and I really appreciate them being here for this special evening. So we'll start with high school principal Dan Stevens. Central Office Administrator, or Director of Business and Finance is Jan Ziesel. Where are you, Jan? Human Resources is Kathy Belkowski. I think Kathy's here. She is. Our Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Carly Stone. And we also have from the high school Assistant Principal Megan Kozlowski. Where's Megan? Oakwood Principal Coy Stewart. There she is. We have Harvey Swanson Elementary Principal, Jessica Hevel, thank you. Jessica's here, thank you. And Middle School Principal Mike Tucker. Now, did I miss anyone?
Maria.
Oh yeah. Maria Schubering has been extremely important to the success of this evening, and let's also acknowledge her for her role. I actually was going to acknowledge her later down the list, but no, good timing. Thank you for that. And I think we also have from the citizens, Shelby Stewart Solden. Yeah, Shelby. David Fleet. David, thank you for being here again from the citizen. And we also have our former, I should say our 2017 honorees, Clark and Lori Cook from Cook's Dairy here. They were conducted in 2017. So I think those are our special guests. I don't think I missed anyone. Obviously we have our families tonight that we're going to be acknowledging, and our 2 distinguished alumni here in just a moment. So some opening comments I'd like to share. This is I was the first time that I've experienced this amazing event. I will just speak from the heart before I go to the script a little bit. In advance, working with Maria as we prepared for this event, you know, you come into these roles and you learn the traditions that are in place and when you go to these new positions. And I'll be honest, one of the most I guess heartfelt and real exciting opportunity is to be here tonight with you, to understand the background of these great alumni from Brandon High School, and now to be able to honor tonight Dr. Manor and Lieutenant Glover is truly something special. This is the best day and night yet for me in my career here in Brandon, and it's special to be part of this. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, to the Board of Education for your support for me to be here for this great night. So again, we are here today to recognize our 7th class of exemplary Ortonville Brandon graduates to the Distinguished Alumni Wall of Fame. The program was launched with the generous support of the family of Ed and Diane Donaldson. Our collective vision was aimed to capture amazing stories of Brandon's most successful and accomplished alumni, to use these stories to inspire our students and to be a source of pride for the entire Ortonville-Brandon community. So that's the purpose. What an amazing purpose it is. So I'd like to take a moment and share some detail on the past winners. So since its inception, we have honored 14 outstanding Ortonville-Brandon alumni. And again, 2 more outstanding alumni will be honored in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go through the list. This began in 2015. The honorees: Ron Sutton, graduate of 1948 here at Brandon, awarded for Distinguished Civil Service. Matt Lentz, 2001, awarded for Achievement in Athletics. Joe Slaughter, graduated in 1965, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Business. The 2016 honorees: Justin Quisenberry, a graduate of 2000, awarded for Distinguished Service to our nation. Dr. Cynthia Heth McDermott, 1975 graduate, awarded for the Distinguished Achievement in Research and Academics. 2017 honorees: Clark and Lori Cook, graduates in 1979, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Business. Leo T. Flood, graduate of 1943, awarded for Distinguished Service to our nation. In 2018, honorees: Jamie McDermott, a 1979 graduate, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Business. Tim Purdy, 1989 graduate, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Civil Service. In 2019 honorees: Ron Caligiero, 1980 graduate, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Technology and Photography. And Dr. Gwen Hamilton Wyatt, in 1965 graduate, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Nursing, Education, and Research. The 2021 honorees: Fran Hotchkiss, 1979, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Civil Service. John Maxwell, 1987, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Service to our nation. Mary Wilson, 1976, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Education. And of course tonight, 2022 honorees: Dr. Michael Manor, graduated in 1998, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Education. And also tonight, honoring Lieutenant Greg Glover, graduate of 1985, awarded for Distinguished Achievement in Service to the Safety and Well-Being of the residents of Ortonville and Oakland County. So who will be next? So I would like to ask that question. Who will be next to get this award? Who is it? Which student walking the halls today will rise to the highest level of their future profession? Who will be our next Dr. Manor or our next Lieutenant Glover? Who will be the next Brandon High School Distinguished Alumni? And I think that's part of the mission, is for us to build the momentum that this great group of individuals who've been acknowledged have done great work here, to bring that mission, bring that story alive to our classmates, to our students of Brandon High School. Looking forward to working with the administration to achieve that outcome. So I would like to read a dedication, or I should say a thank you, first to the Donaldson family for making this possible. They aren't here tonight to come up and speak, but I do have a message that I'd like to read on their behalf. So this is a message from the Donaldson family. On behalf of our entire family, we want to thank you for allowing our contribution to the Brandon School District to be recognized in such a meaningful way. We especially want to thank Superintendent Matt Outlaw for spearheading the Wall of Fame idea originally, and then Superintendent Dan Gilbertson for continuing it. Our family would also like to acknowledge the selection committee. You have the daunting task of choosing the best of the best each year for this award. We're grateful for you and for your commitment for keeping this program going. We hope the Ed and Diane Donaldson Wall of Fame lives on and expands each year for future generations of Brandon students. Congratulations to this year's class for the contributions to society you've made throughout your lives. You're a true representation of all that's good and positive about Ortonville and the Brandon School District. You make our family proud to be Brandon Blackhawks. So next, we're going to go ahead. I'd like to say, well, to the Donaldson family, on behalf of the Brandon School District, we thank you for your service to the children of this community. We thank you and the entire Donaldson family for their generous support of this program. So at this time, we're ready for the inductions. It is with great pleasure to begin the introduction of tonight's honorees. That's why we're here. They were nominated for their exemplary accomplishments in education and service and selected from a pool of outstanding Brandon graduates by a committee of alumni, school officials, students, and community members. So I'd like to begin, before we honor Dr. Michael Manor, class of 1998, he will be introduced by Jackie Medaki. She is a nominator and a Brandon teacher. Jackie, come on up.
Hello everyone, I am Jackie Medaki and this is my 29th year teaching at Brandon Middle School. Dr. Michael Manor was my Spanish student in the first 2 years of my teaching career, starting in 1992, in the time span when the middle school was housed in the high school. Mike was a very memorable student. He was always interested in learning, attentive to details, and kind toward others. He always went above and beyond in his work. He was accepted into Awesome Tech, which was Brandon's first STEM program. Since we were housed in the high school, I saw him now and then, and he had his 2 brothers in my classes. His mom, Jane, faithfully came to parent-teacher conferences for all of them, and we had a great many great conversations about the boys and life in general. Mike stayed active in school in sports, robotics, and National Honor Society. He graduated in the top 10 of his class, and I got to talk to him one last time when I chaperoned his senior prom in 1998. Fast forward many years, and with the advent of social media, we reconnected through the magic of Facebook. I learned that he earned his bachelor's at Aquinas College, his MBA at Grand Valley, and his PhD at MSU. He was the Associate Dean of the MBA program at Notre Dame University. I hope I have these details correct. You can let me know if it's a little off. His research has been published in journals and books and highlighted in numerous media outlets. He is now back to focusing on research and teaching, plus launching a new PhD program. In addition, he is part of a group called Lumind IDCS Foundation. Are you still the chairperson?
I just ended.
Just ended, okay. But they raise money for people with Down syndrome, and according to the information that I read, they raise millions of dollars?
Alumni has, yeah.
Millions of dollars each year to support research and to support families. Most notably, Mike is a strong family man. He and his wife Kate have been married for 20 years and together raised 5 beautiful children. He remains close to his mother and his brother Joe. I feel so blessed to have taught all of the Manor boys, well, men, and thankful to have been a part of their journey while here at Brandon Schools. Their family was one of the first to make me feel like this is more than a job, but instead a part of the Brandon family. I'm so proud of you and all of your accomplishments and the man you've become, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what's to come.
So if it's okay, would we be okay for you to just walk down this way and let's unveil your picture? Okay. If you want to get a picture while we unveil it, that'd be great. Come on down. So I think we got a special spot on the wall for you, sir. And And if you want, you can stay up here. It's my first year. I think you guys are supposed to sit there. So.
It'll be a few minutes.
That's okay.
That's good.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Mcarthur. Thank you so much for coming. To start off, I wanted to thank Mrs. Medaki. You'll always be Mrs. Medaki to me for her inspiring teaching all of those years ago, and for thinking of me for this recognition. I remember her classes very well. I'll talk a little bit about some things that I remember in a few minutes. I also appreciate the family of Ed and Diane Donaldson for endowing this great program, and for all the work keeping alums connected to the community, and all of that this program represents. I had the opportunity to meet a couple of Ed and Diane's kids on Monday. One of their kids is thinking about coming to Notre Dame, so they came by my office, and we had a nice time chatting and talking about the future. I'm also humbled to be honored alongside Lieutenant Glover, and with all of you, our friends and family, being here. I want to recognize a few people, so especially my mom, Jane, my wife, Kate. 4 of my kids were able to be here, so Sophia, Julia, Susie, and Lucy. And my son, Mikey, is 16 and has a football game tomorrow night that it was non-negotiable that he needed to be at, so he's with us in spirit. And then my mother-in-law and father-in-law, Dave and Pat Navarre, coming in from Ann Arbor. I loved growing up in Ortonville. That's the moral of the story here. I had a great time. We went through some hard times while we were here, but what the community means to me is something that has lasted all of these years and will last long into the future. And even as we thought of places to raise our kids and careers take you in different places, it was Ortonville that was my model. And actually my wife grew up in Dexter, which is a town quite like Ortonville, and has a lot of the same community spirit and great school spirit. So 3 things I wanted to touch on as I reflected on this and thought about what I might say tonight, talking about sports, friends, and school. So sports were a huge part of my experience when we came in here. We said hello to a few people, but we wanted to go see some of the All-State pictures and just remember there used to be a payphone over here that we would use to call mom when she forgot to pick us up, or, all of those kinds of things. Coaches Wagner, Thorpe, Vasquez, many other coaches over the years. I'm sure many of you have known coaches and teachers and others that have inspired over the years, but the coaches made baseball fun, a little scary, so a couple little snippets to kind of give you color here. Coach Wagner was an intense coach, and he didn't appreciate our mental errors and would occasionally get upset with us and throw a baseball bat up in the air, and we would sit there waiting to be like, is he going to move? Is he going to come down and be a threat to him? But he inspired us, and he had a great love of having us be very well conditioned, so I don't have any love for the stairs on that side of the building. We had to run 6-minute miles around these halls, and you had to keep running until you got under 6 minutes, so it could be all season if you didn't get to it. In fact, actually, as I think about it, I'm not the first Manor boy to be honored here. My brother has his picture up from All-State, couple years of things, and my little brother Jimmy was the best athlete of us all. He tragically passed in 2001, but he was 6'3". He was a freshman, and he was throwing heat as a starter on varsity, one of the best players. We had a great memorial service for him this spring, and there's a scholarship in his name. So I'm just carrying carrying up the tale for the Manor boys. I think of all the friends that we've known through the years, the Mercinos, the Mahaffeys, the Shepherds, all of the Klusners, the Kirkwoods, all of these folks that made Ortonville feel like home, and when we went through tough times, they rallied around us in a really powerful way. I worked in town in a couple of jobs, so the Renaissance Festival, Papa Bella's. One of my favorite memories from Papa Bella's was actually trading with Cook's Dairy Farm. We would trade pizzas for ice cream. It was a fantastic system. It made everybody happy. We would sometimes send pizzas over to the police and to fire as well. You know, it made for a kind of a fun experience. I do miss Annie McPhee's. I thought that after this we might go get some breadsticks at McPhee's. Unfortunately, times change, but I hear there's something nice new being built there. I have lots of school stories. I suppose once you're a Blackhawk, you're always a Blackhawk. And so being here is full of nostalgia, and I've continued my career in education, going to school for way too many years. But my wife, Katie, is also a teacher, and I've come to really appreciate how much my teachers and the teachers of Brandon have poured into students year after year. Mrs. Medaki and Mr. Olson, Mrs. Hughes. I could actually go, I was looking at it, I think I can get all the way K through 12, almost all of the teachers that I had. And what that speaks to is just how much of an imprint these folks had on me, so I'm incredibly thankful. In Mrs. Medaki's class, she gave us the opportunity to have what I considered an alter ego. So in class, we could pick a Spanish name, and so I was Roberto. And as a middle schooler, all the angst of middle school, having an alter ego was a really fun thing, and I've always remembered that, and I still think of Roberto as part of who I am. He doesn't come out as much anymore, but yeah, just all of the great lessons and experiences that I had in this building, and egg drops, and even in football, we would have angle of pursuit drills, and so the coaches would highlight the geometry of, okay, if somebody is taking off with you're trying to tackle them, they're going in a straight line, and if you go straight to them, you'll never catch them. So what angle do you have to go? But that's the way that sports and school all blended together in a really powerful way. So with that, I will wrap it up and just say thanks to all of you for being here. It's an incredible honor to be recognized in this way. I'm humbled by all of the accomplishments of the people behind me, and just so thankful to be part of the Blackhawk community. So go Blackhawks.
So going off the script just again for just a moment, this process, contacting Dr. Manor, going with the committee, going through this process to select two outstanding people here tonight was very humbling, I gotta say. And just when we had that first conversation, the thing that hit me hard was what great people. This is and just listening to you now represents the best in Brandon schools, the best in Ortonville, and I really mean that. I'm impressed by who you are, what you represent, and thank you for making this long trip. I hope it's a great weekend for you, and I hope your son wins tomorrow. That would be good. So well done, sir. Thank you. So moving forward to our next nominee that I've been fortunate to get to know a little bit myself, and really appreciate Lieutenant Glover for everything you do in the short time I've worked with you. Truly mean that. True hero. That's what I see, and I thank you for everything you've done and are doing. So with that, I'm not going to delay any further. I'm going to introduce Mr. Guy Wardell, who is the nominator. And at this time, Guy, come on up, and Lieutenant, if you don't mind, you can join him and please say a few words.
First, I'd like to thank the board, the superintendent, and the school district for honoring these people. It's a great thing that you're carrying on, and it's well needed in our community. I'd like to say that it's a rare thing in your life that you get to meet great people, and the man next to me is one of those. I've also been very fortunate to have two others who are neighbors, the Cooks, and it's been great to know that they're a part of this wall also. In my lifetime, I've been blessed to have had time with Greg. Over 20 plus years I've been with Greg and his family, and I've found that he's not only a great man in his law enforcement career, in which he's not only saved lives but changed lives. He's had an impact on this whole community in various ways, but he's one of the most giving men that I've ever met. He gives of his time, he's coached, he's mentored young people, he's the guy that's there for you when times are down. You don't get, as a police officer, my previous career was in school and police, but you don't get asked as a police officer to show up when things are going well. But Greg shows up and changes people's lives because of what he does. And it's an honor to do that. He asked me to be brief because that's the way he is, and very humble. I have an hour-long speech that I want to give. I don't think he would enjoy that. So I will say that I said some things to Greg at my oldest son's wedding that I really meant from the heart, and that was that he had been a blessing to my family and this entire community, and many young people breathe easier because of what he's done. And with that, I'll say, if you know Greg, you'll know the term that I'm using now, but man, oh man, this is one great guy. And I'll tell you, boy, you better let me tell you this, as he's told many of us, he is a man of great character. And with that, I will just let you know that it's been a blessing for me and my family. And thank you.
Hey. There you go.
I didn't plan the speech like the doctor to come up with. But to cover a couple things, I've been blessed in my career. I'm in my 36th year. Hired in when I was 21. Have done just about everything in the career that you can possibly do. I've seen everything. At least I think I've seen everything, and then sometimes another day comes along. I worked undercover for almost 20 years, which is almost unheard of. I worked on a fugitive team for 10 years attached to a marshal task force, and traveled all over the country, did a lot of crazy things. And unfortunately, when I was picked to work fugitive apprehension, at the time I was the youngest guy in the unit, but my wife was also pregnant with our first son, Jake. And for almost 10 years, I spent very little time at home. A lot of traveling, crazy hours, and none of it would have been possible without my wife. She's a She's a 1986 graduate. My best friend Larry is also a 1986 graduate. The community out here has meant just about everything. I grew up out here, moved to Waterford for several years, and I can tell you that when my dad bought a house back out here and we came back, if I would have stayed in Waterford schools, I probably would not be the person that I am today, or probably not in this career. Whole different atmosphere down there. I was an athlete down there, I was an athlete here, but you weren't held to the standard in Waterford that you are here. With teachers, principals. I remember Ed Donaldson. There was always a fear factor with him. He was a great person, but you were held to a different standard around him, and everybody knew that. when I came back to Brandon as a sergeant, actually, I had no idea that I was coming back to Brandon. I was working in a homicide team where I'd been for 10 years. They asked me to come out here because there were some things going on in the substation, and they wanted me to fill that role. So I came back to Brandon, and I remember coming back to the first home football game I worked. And as soon as I heard the fight song, it actually gave me chills. And I remembered how much I actually missed it. Working undercover for 20 years, I was out of uniform, and I didn't realize how much I missed running the calls, being back in a police car, the lights and siren, that type of thing. Bob Mcarthur was the chief out here when I was a patrolman, back in the mid-90s. I was a young patrolman. And when I came back, I couldn't believe how much the school had changed, but the community hadn't. A lot of the people that I went to school with, some of those families I was still running into out here, and it just felt like you were coming back home. We built a house out here so that our kids would grow up in Brandon. We lived in Clarkson right after we got married. But I can tell you that none of the things that I've done career-wise, I would have been able to do without my wife. I don't know very many women that would have tolerated the hours and the things that I did. When it comes to working overtime, when working fugitives, your shift doesn't start until 5 o'clock. You work your 8 hours. You don't catch bad guys from 9 to 5, especially fugitives. And it never failed that every time she had plans, I would pull in the driveway or call her and say, I'm not coming home tonight. Or we're leaving town, or we're taking a flight the next morning to go out of state. So very difficult, and I don't know of anybody that would have put up with that like she did. When it comes to sports, I was competitive almost to a negative. I think that's one of the reasons I was successful working undercover. Very, very driven. Losing wasn't an option for me. It's still not. I am a person that has never accepted defeat. Me and Guy coached together for almost 20 years. We started the BC Hawks, which was a AAA travel baseball team, so that there was a feeder program here for the high school. The high school currently does not have a feeder program at all for their varsity baseball. Me and Guy had a team, both our kids, or his two sons, my oldest boy, my youngest son Josh, all played in that program. We probably have 8 to 10 kids that have went on to play at the collegiate level, including Guy's son and my oldest son. So athletics was a big part of that. And I can tell you that between my own playing and my coaching was another reason why I wasn't at home a lot. And my wife was, traveling all over. We were playing tournaments all over the place, playing at a high level. But we did it for Brandon. We did it for the school. Very frustrating to see that there's not a feeder program out here even to this day. Our kids graduated our last two graduated in 2015 from here. And there hasn't been a feeder program since. So me and my son Jake, my youngest son Josh, we continue to put on camps for the community, for the rec department. Guys helped us with that, some indoor coaching. But all of it's been really for Brandon, because we wanted to see the sports and things continue and excel here. And that's why we continue to do what we do. I want to thank the Donaldson family. I went to school, I graduated with one of the Tammy Donaldson. I knew Dave in school. I knew Mrs. Donaldson, but I remember the teachers, the coaches that I had here, most of the teachers. You don't run into many of them. Mrs. Shank is here. I do recognize her from school. But I also wanted to thank Guy and Sandy. They've been a big part of my life. Me and Guy have been pretty close for a long time, for about 20 years. Jim and Julie in the back row, good friends of mine and my wife's. My aunt and uncle, my Uncle Tom, probably a pretty big reason for me with athletics. My dad was a policeman. My dad worked crazy shifts, and my Uncle Tom was always carting me around to baseball, basketball, those type of things. And then my best friend Larry and Chris, me and Larry, we've been probably best friends, Larry says, probably junior high. So they mean a lot to me. My son Josh, he came back from Grand Rapids for this. Coached him for a long time, so I appreciate it. And to all of you, I was one of the first responders at Oxford, one of the first guys in that school. I think I was the 5th car. Me and Dan have worked pretty tirelessly trying to shore up security here, to not make the mistakes that took place in Oxford. I will say this, that through our efforts, Brandon schools are much safer than they've ever been. What's going on here now is almost state of the art. I don't know of many school systems in the state of Michigan that are implementing and doing what they're doing here. And a lot of that was already in motion prior to the Oxford shooting, and that just set it to a whole nother level. So I kudos to Dan for all the work and for all the faculty throughout all the schools for taking the measures and putting up with us as law enforcement. When something comes up and it starts out as a school issue, but once law enforcement's called, it becomes a law enforcement issue, and we don't always deal with it the way that administrators would deal with it. I don't have the luxury of that, so it changes our relationship a little bit. And fortunately, I've had a great relationship with all of the school administrators here, and it continues to this day. So I want to thank everybody for that. Thank you. Thanks.
Well, at the beginning, I felt like this was going to be the best night that I've experienced at Brandon Schools yet, and it already is for me personally. And so Lieutenant Glover, thank you for all you do, what you're doing. It's a well-deserved honor to have you here. Dr. Manor, likewise, I'm so honored to get to know you, and of course, Lieutenant Glover, I really mean that. I'm very thankful. It raises the bar, and it's an indication of who we are, the best of the Brandon community. So, well done, gentlemen. I want to thank everyone who came tonight. Families, I know you traveled a long distance. I hope you're sticking around for the parade tomorrow. And the homecoming festivities, and we really want to honor you guys again tomorrow if at all possible. I know we hopefully set that up for you. So families, thank you for being here. Board of Education, our friends in the press, and all of our administrators, everyone, thank you for being here. And really our next step is next year, 2023, the next 2 or 3 possibly individuals that we get a chance to honor. I can't wait for that opportunity, because there's a very high standard set here, and I'm thankful to be part of it. So with that, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Don't leave, because we do have some pictures we want to take. So I hope you will stick around for a few more pictures. We may have some more food. And I didn't say this earlier, so I apologize for that. Our food service department, Monica, did a great job setting this up for us. So I know she can't hear me. I didn't see her when she was in the room in the beginning, but the food service staff, our technology folks have done a great job for being here. So thank you to our staff that are working hard tonight. But a great evening. The last thing I got to say, besides please stick around for a few minutes and thank you, is go Blackhawks. All right.